We'll try to make it not too tough of an edit.
Oh, yeah. No worries. The only ones that are tough are when I'm trying to pull material or stories. Sometimes somebody will come on and they have nothing to say. I'm like, oh, man, why?
Well, I mean, I could make some stuff up. Like,
Yeah.
there should be a disclaimer. Like, I claim poetic license. You know, like all this stuff happened well over 30 years ago. So
Yeah, good point. Even our memories aren't real.
yeah. The human memory is fallible.
Yeah. Mine's impotent.
Well, it's a rainy Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just sitting out in the garage when you came up and just listening to music and the
Yeah.
rain come down.
Yeah.
And there was the longest fart of a thunder. We saw a quick flash and then we're like, was that lightning?
Yeah.
A few seconds go by and then this rumble that lasted like 20 seconds. I was
Yeah.
like, holy Toledo.
Yeah.
Like Andre the Giant just
Totally.
ripping one.
Yeah, and apparently there's a huge storm moving north from South Dakota today. I don't know. I just
okay. Good to
read that on the TV screen. I have no meteorological.
So we'll get this done before the power goes out here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so hey, my name is Pat Phillips. I live in Bismarck, North Dakota, and my first car was a 1979 Datsun truck. As of now, the actual model number is unknown.
Oh, yeah, right.
We think it's a 210. I think it's a 210, but the jury's out on whether there was actually a 210 truck.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
When did you get this?
Yeah. Well, I didn't, it's weird because I didn't really actually get it.
Okay.
It was just the first car that I had access to. Like in
Right.
my family.
It was a family vehicle.
Yeah, there were like 3 or 4 cars and my sister drove it and I drove it. You know, it was, can I have the car?
Totally.
Who has the truck? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it was probably I didn't get my driver's license until I was a junior in high school, almost a senior in high school. Just had no interest whatsoever.
I was 20.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, yeah.
So you weren't too late.
It's funny though. I listen all my friends around here that I've met since moving here, got their driver's license when they were 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Or,
See, all my friends had a car and their license, so I didn't really need one. People were picking me up all the time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, almost like my buddy's old Ford F-150, no idea what year it was. Mm-hmm. Was probably more like my first car. Not that I ever drove it, but I spent more time in that car, probably, going around and doing the things that you do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
There's only one thing around here that works as hard as my son, my Datsun. 8 years old, still going strong. They are driven.
Now it's my truck.
Yep, I got me a new Datsun King Cab. It has more power, gets even better gas mileage, and look at that room. Datsun's been good for my family.
Do I have to wait 8 years for this one?
Have two.
It's good for you. It's good for you.
Result.
One of my earliest memories of learning how to drive later than usual was my dad. So my dad was the city attorney in the town that I grew up in, and he claimed that he had cleared this with the sheriff. I don't know if he cleared it with the sheriff or if he just felt like he knew the sheriff well enough that he didn't need to ask permission. But it was probably about 10 p.m., which was at least an hour and a half past curfew at my house in high school.
Oh.
And he came down to my room and he was like, hey, come on, get in the car. We're going to go practice driving. And it was the middle of winter in Sydney, Montana, super cold outside. And we had this local ice rink about 3 or 4 blocks away that was just bounded by snow piles. They would just make the ice rink and then they would just shovel all of the snow out to the outside. And that was the edges of the ice rink. And my dad pulled this Datsun 210 rear wheel drive truck
Oh,
out
yes.
onto the ice rink. And he's like, I'm going to teach you how to steer into a skid. And so we just spun cookies in the ice rink for probably an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know, running into the snow on the side of the ice rink and figuring
that
out how
sounds
to
like
drive
fun.
on ice. And then he was like, all right, you know, I don't ever want to see you doing this again. And like,
Get it out of your system
yeah.
now.
And then like, I didn't even get to drive home. And then I had to get out of the car and he got into the driver's seat and, you know, drove home. And like, that was your driving lesson, like go to bed.
Oh, wow. School night?
Yeah.
Yeah,
School night.
spur of the
you
moment.
know, poetic license. Yeah.
Yeah.
School night.
Right,
School
sure.
night's much better. Much better. Yeah. I don't know if he planned that, you know, or like, or if
He
he's
just got done watching
Yeah.
a movie.
Yeah, totally. I want to go spin some cookies on the. I don't know. We weren't really a car family, you know, like, but my dad was very like, you have to know how to change the oil and you have to know how to do
good.
all of these things, you know. Which
Most
to
of
this
us
day,
did not get that.
I don't actually do for myself, but like I could do. So yeah, it's weird. Yeah, he's always like, you know, what you should do that, you know, and I'm like, well. I spent a lot of time learning how to play guitar. Like, I'm going to go play guitar and I'll take the $50 that they gave me and give it to somebody who spends their time changing oil. And like, I feel like that's
right.
fair. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I would rather not do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
At least you learned.
Yeah, I could do it if hard pressed.
Right. Yeah.
I could do it. I could do it. Yeah. Yeah. The other story that I remember specifically about that car is maybe more like legend in our family. I'm not sure how real it actually is, but
Okay.
my dad was a volunteer fireman.
Cool.
And so there was a magnetic light that plugged into the cigarette lighter.
Oh, yeah.
And then like, you know, you would magnetize it to the roof
That's
of the
how
car.
they turned on. I was always kind of wondering that.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
it would just, you know, there was no siren or anything. It was just a flashing red light. And so if he needed to get someplace, you know, wherever from, he would have that. But it was always in the truck because that was his like daily driver. And so the legend has it that my little sister and her best friend used to love to show up to Hydro Beer in the Culvert meet on Friday night, like gatherings, like you know,
Yeah.
out of town with that
Totally.
light. With that
Oh.
light rolling and just watch everybody scatter and then like show up, you know, be the first in line for the keg or whatever
Yeah.
and come back. It's okay. It's just, so I don't know if that's true or not, but she claims that she did this
Yes,
on numerous
totally.
occasions. Yeah.
If I had that, I would definitely do it.
Oh, totally. And,
Yes.
and I mean, and if you didn't think of it when you had access to it, I mean, at least you want to like imagine that it happened.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that truck was a good truck. My sister, she always wanted to drive. Like I could care less. I was skateboarding with my friends, or you know, they had cars, like you said. You know, yeah. But she, like, I can remember her when I was just like, and it was rack and pinion steering, so you had to like really wrestle this little truck. Like, it didn't have any kind of assistance really
Yes.
much at all, and so like. She worked on the farm when she was in high school, and like she used to like drive our neighbor's truck backwards down the driveway to get the mail, you know, 20 yards, and like that was the most fun she could ever have. Can I drive the truck down to the mailbox, you know?
Backwards.
Yeah, like because you know, he would pull in and she wasn't big enough to like turn it around and actually drive it, so she would just put it in reverse and then like it would roll backwards. She couldn't reach the gas pedal, you know. And then she'd like stand up on the brake pedal and put it in park and get the mail and then put it in drive and roll back up the driveway and stand on the brake pedal. And she just loved to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I couldn't care less. Anyways, I remember me not being able to turn this car, like not being able to set it up for a turn because you had to like kind of wrestle the steering wheel around, and you had to like always kind of go left first if you wanted to turn right and go right first if you wanted to turn left. And I remember her just yelling at me like I was stupid. You don't even know how to turn the car. She was like grabbing the steering wheel and showing me how to do it. Yeah. Sydney, all I wanted was from Sydney was to like for it to go away. Like I just wanted to leave Sydney.
Yeah.
So my buddy,
What's population?
couple oil booms through my
sure.
school age years,
Yes.
middle school, high school in Sydney.
Yep.
So probably on the low end, 4,000, not quite. On the high end, maybe 7,000, 8,000. Like almost doubled a couple times, but it was up and down. Like I don't know the actual demographics, but it was oil boom town.
Right.
So we would experience.
I lived in Williston.
Periods of that. Oh yeah. Oh, so you totally
Yeah,
know exactly
yeah.
what I'm talking about. So yeah, and I just there was really nothing there for me, like in terms of, I had like 2 buddies in high school and we were all best buds, but we were best buds because we were the 3 people that nobody in Sydney could figure out.
Right. Yeah. A bunch of weirdos.
Because we liked to, go skateboarding and didn't play football and weren't wrestlers and
Yeah. See, that's how I was too.
Yeah.
And it was so weird in Williston when I started to skate. I'd get so much shit. Uh-huh. I don't get it.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
weird.
For sure. Yeah. And some of it, like, just like my Aries nature, like for me, it was like, well, that was kind of part of the fun of doing it. Like I'm kind of doing it just to get a rise out of you a little bit.
Right.
Like, so, but it was, it's good. It was a small town and that's what we did. Sometimes we got in trouble. Sometimes
Of course.
we stayed out of
there
trouble.
was a period in the 90s where it was difficult to skate.
Yeah.
You'd get hassled by the cops,
Yep.
businesses. I mean, for one, yeah, sure, we're taking candles and waxing up their curbs. and
Right.
Grinding on them. Of course, they didn't like that.
See, we
But
were
there
never
was
smart enough
nowhere-
to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were so removed from the whole scene. Like,
Oh, sure.
we didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so, constantly like truck bites and like, stick and like we couldn't figure out how do they do 50 fit? How do you do a Smith grind? Like that's impossible, like,
Right.
But we didn't have any of that fancy stuff.
Yeah. Magazines, videos. You ever
that was
get that
it,
stuff?
right? Like looking at the pictures, especially like it wasn't Thrasher, but was it like
Transworld. Yeah.
Yeah. And looking at they always had such great sequences.
Yes.
And I remember like studying those almost like athletically, like,
Yeah.
okay, like your body should be in that position at some point, but how do you get
Right. How do you go from here
that
to here?
high, or how do you like, there was always that little missing gap between the pictures of, okay, what happened in there? But it was fun. Like that was a fun thing to do.
Yeah, it really was.
All the time. So yeah. And so we would actually use my buddy's dad's truck, that F-150 and we built like little launch ramps. Like we had, cut a transition and built like a 3-foot launch ramp with like probably like a 6-foot radius tranny. And so we just like throw you straight up in the air. And we used
Nice.
to take it to the tennis courts and we would like launch over the net.
Yeah.
And we would like, move it backwards and forwards and figure out how to do different tricks over the net. And like,
That's so cool.
that
Yeah.
was the most fun that we had as flatlanders. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Just like pushing as hard as you could down a tennis court and then.
I was never one to build one, but a lot of other friends had dads who would help build half pipes and rails and stuff like that.
Yeah, we stole the scrap lumber from a deck project at
Oh,
my
yeah.
house.
Punk rock.
And kind of tried to make some friends with, like, one of the guys showed us how to, we wanted him to rip a piece of PVC for us so that we could screw it on as coping on the top of our little launch ramp and
Okay.
like see if we could put it up against a wall and learn how to do like lip tricks or something,
Yeah.
because we didn't have access to like half pipes or anything
Right.
big, even mini ramps or anything like that. Although we tried to build a mini ramp in my yard one time, it worked for about an afternoon. We didn't know how to put masonite on it, so it was just raw plywood that just splintered and like came apart. But
it did
we
that.
had one great afternoon skating, and like that was about it.
Yeah, that'll shred quick.
Yeah. So Sydney to here, I just wanted to get gone. I had been in a band with a couple buddies of mine. Like we had a high school band. It was very trite and very like we had no idea, same as skating. Like we were looking at these magazines, we were watching these DVDs. At the time it was like Van Halen, the Sammy Hagar era Van Halen 5150 like DVD, and we just wanted to be that. And my
Yes.
buddy had a guitar.
Yeah.
And so
Any other bands local?
I mean, there was one, I'm not even going to remember names. There was one band that was local And they actually got us our first gig. We got to play one song during one of their breaks at the annual street dance.
Oh, one song.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I remember we played a Hooters song. Why did we play the Hooters song? Because that was the song that we could play. Like
Hooters
literally,
song.
yeah. It was I think the name of the song was Day by Day. It was like a 1980s pop. I don't even, the Hooters might have been like a one-hit wonder.
Okay.
It had like a mandolin lead, like pre-REM-esque. And so my job was to play the mandolin lead at the 12th fret on the guitar. And yeah, that was the only song we knew. So that was our gig. Like we went and played that song.
Oh, that's okay. They weren't like, you can only play one song.
Well, I mean, like they said we could play during the break. And
Yeah.
I think...
And you're like, we have one.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, like maybe we
Did you bring all your own equipment or just...
No, that was the cool thing. We got to play through their gear, like
Nice.
actual gear. Because,
Okay.
I mean, my buddy had some really interesting equipment though. Like he had the first electric guitar I saw was a '68 Strat. That was his grandpa's.
Oh, wow.
And he had, God, I want to say it was a Bandmaster. It was like a brown face though. It was like a gap year. It was a Bandmaster, or it was like a Tremoverb. I don't know, but it was like a head and a cabinet.
Okay.
212 cabinet, closed back, big Fender 212 cabinet, and it had, you know, how the old Fenders have 2 channels with 2 inputs on each channel, and we had no idea. That was the only equipment that we had. So we just plugged a microphone into one and a guitar into the other one, and then like indiscriminately just plugged things into the front of this amp, and like, yeah, it was absolutely horrible.
Right.
But that was what we had. So yeah.
Is this like the first time you're amplified when you're playing?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So cool. And like my buddy, so my parents made me take piano lessons. I mean, I think I asked to take piano lessons, but then there was actually a point where
Oh, cool.
it
So you
became-
learned music,
Yeah.
at least notes, and
yeah, and in a very sort of regimented way. Like I remember my piano teacher, like, okay, this is your finger exercise book. This is your classical repertoire book. This is your theory study book. This is your, like, and every week I had a half-hour lesson, and it was like 10 minutes of
Oh, wow.
dexterity, 10 minutes of classical repertoire, 10 minutes of theory, 10, you know, like it was very, I didn't pay attention to any of it. I mean, I probably benefited subconsciously from
Right,
that. But
yeah, a little bit.
I never went into high school, you know, with any knowledge of musical theory. Like at that point, it was a pain in the butt. I wanted to go skateboarding.
Of course.
And I had to sit with the egg timer on the top of the piano and
And then you
practice
look back
piano
and
for
you're like,
20
man,
minutes.
it's been
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then and it's only 30 seconds. You're like,
Exactly.
wait, what the?
Yeah, totally. And then you'd like try to speed it up a little bit, and then your mom would catch you, and then yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember. Oh, yeah. So Dustin had a guitar, and my dad played guitar, and I wanted so badly to be like Rick Springfield at the time. Like,
Right.
Guitar was so much cooler than piano.
Of course.
So I had this cheap little Casio keyboard that I had purchased from the JCPenney catalog because I was the keyboard player, because Dustin had a guitar and I had a keyboard. So the way to get into the band was to have a keyboard and then be in the band. But I
Oh,
really
that
just-
keyboard's probably worth a few bucks now.
Oh, probably now
Yeah.
it is. Like at the time, it was probably
Right.
like, you know, like $120 that I had saved up from JCPenney's, and I remember it had, you know, like all the little bossa nova beat.
Oh,
and,
that's so cool.
You know, yeah, it would be super fun right now. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I also remember like I couldn't afford a case for it, so I kept the box that it was shipped in, like even like the styrofoam ends that like suspended it in the box.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom taking like black contact paper and like reinforcing the
Oh, wow.
box to make it look like a case, and she like hot glued and then like stapled some like nylon straps on. Like I would carry it around in the box that it got shipped from JCPenney's and in this case that my mom had like fabricated for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But always wanted a guitar, you know what I mean? So then like, to the point of being amplified. My
Yeah.
first guitar was a Harmony guitar from the JCPenney's catalog. It was like a black Strat copy. And I remember being so blown away when my dad played acoustic guitar. And then I went to my buddy Dustin's house and he had this electric guitar. And he was like, yeah, play it. And so he played it. It wasn't plugged into anything. And I remember like, it's so stupid, but I was like, oh, it still makes a sound. Like, and I was like, oh, don't you have to plug it in? And he was like, well, yeah, you can plug it in. And he, plugs it in and whatever. But I was just coming away going, okay, so I used to be $300 away from having a guitar, and now I'm like $180 away from having, because you don't have to have an amp. Like you can get the guitar without the amp. And so that was the thing. Like I had gotten this guitar and I didn't have an amp, but I was like, oh, like I can actually do this right now. Like, which was so cool to me. So yeah. And then like to your point, going to Dustin's house and getting to plug it in, like that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And then until you got an amp for your birthday and whatever, but like, yeah. No,
like when you brought up the street dance too, or at least your first gig, one of the first practices I had with, I guess my first band was in a church, and it wasn't a church band. He just was able to get the keys for his church, and we could go in on a Saturday night and use their PA system and mic our little amps. I had a small little PB about the size of that Marshall there.
Yeah.
And he put a microphone in front of it, and then we just kind of jammed together. Also my first time hearing a drummer, or at least like up front. I played in band class, and so we had snares and bass and whatnot, but a trap set.
Yeah. And like in a church, man, like how much fun must that have been to just like be able to fill all of that, like move all of that
turn
air.
Up that sound system. It was weird and not infectious, but it just.
Oh, dude!
I was in at that moment. Like, wow, we didn't sound good.
Nope,
but it was
matter.
Loud.
Yeah, we made that happen.
I was like, oh shit, this is
It's funny to think, like, to me, it's funny to think that like sound, like you're actually like impacting the physical environment of the room, like Frank Zappa calls music like air sculptures, like making little air sculptures, like you're pushing the air molecules around, like you're changing people's environment,
right?
Like quite literally, like, and it's just like, and when you can do it at that scale, like with my little amp in my room, I can push this many air molecules, and now look how many air molecules are, like, I can, like, wow, everybody's being impacted by it, positively or negatively, but everybody's being impacted by this, like, that's such a cool thing.
Yeah, positively or negatively. Sometimes negatively, especially our first bands with more volume over the quality, as long as we were loud. It was great.
I love it because for me it was the opposite. Like I always felt from like my piano upbringing that you were supposed to be very controlled. Like I remember being in college and having, guitar lessons. Like I went to school to get a bachelor's degree in music industry, which was meh.
How'd that work out?
I mean, it was good. I had some fun but the interesting thing with my guitar lesson, I remember at one point being able to like technically do all of the things that I was supposed to be able to do, and my guitar teacher just being disgusted with me. And I remember him like taking my cable, and we had like little PV practice amps in the lesson room where we all used, and he had this big Marshall stack that was like this big blue 70s Marshall 1969. I mean, it wasn't quite plexi, it was like the era after plexi, but it was a 100 watt stack, I don't know, but he turned it on in that little room, and he turned it all the way up, and he was like, play. I mean, it was painful, both physically, like it hurt to be in that space with that loudness, but also he was just like, that's what you sound like, man, like you got to get yourself together, like hand noise and just all of these things that you really have no idea.
Right.
And like, I love the idea of like the first experience you have is just this kind of reckless abandon, like learn how to deal with the volume and learn how to sort of control that. Like, cause I never learned how to do that, you know? And then at some point somebody was like, had to be like tough love with me and be like, dude, you sound like an amateur. Like you need to be able to play loud, and everything, all of your faults are going to come through a PA if you don't get that together.
Totally.
Yeah. See, I don't have any of the Bismarck pedigree. Like, I feel so lucky that I know the people that I know in
right
this
on.
town, in this such a cool little community. You know what I mean? For me, it was, college at Morehead State, and then I got an internship. Like, I crazily won this MTV internship in Minneapolis, and so I moved out there. And at the time, there was a band in Fargo.
How did you win this? What the fuck?
So I had to do an internship for school, right? And so it was my last year of school, fall of my senior year. And my music professor calls me in, my advisor or whatever, and she's like, yeah, hey, these people from MTV are on the phone. Like, I think I have your internship. And I was like, I'm supposed to do an internship? And she was like, here, just talk to them. And they were like, yeah, congratulations. MTV is offering this internship at Nice Man Merchandising in, Bloomington, Minnesota, or wherever they were. It's $500 a week and for 8 weeks this summer. And, you have to sign the waiver and we have to be able to put quotes from MTV or whatever, none of which ever happened. And so I was just like, oh, okay, thanks, basically.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, they had this thing, 7-Up and MTV. This must have been like 94, 95.
Is this something you signed up with,
No.
like through school, or the school did it on behalf of you?
So we had a professor switch. This new person was my advisor, and it was her first year there. And she moved from LA, and what she had was industry contacts. And basically this friend that she had, who was like the, mid-level coordinator in charge of the 7-Up summer internship MTV promotion, was like, everybody signed up and won. And people took the New York internship, they took the Nashville internship, they took the Los Angeles internship, they took all these internships, and there was one in St. Paul that wasn't at a studio, it wasn't, with a production company or a record company. It was like with this merchandising company. Like the place where I did my internship was like a strip mall in Bloomington in this little office. And, we would box up T-shirts and drop ship them to places for these bands to pick them up when they were on tour and sell merchandise. Like, that was their connection to the music industry. But nobody wanted this internship. So this lady had called my professor, and she was like, hey, can you help us find somebody to fill this St. Paul position? And I just happened to be the next kid whose internship consult was when she was on the phone with her or whatever. So I got this internship. And so, so I moved to St. Paul, did that for a while. There was a band in Fargo that I really wanted to be in. It was the coolest band in Fargo. They were called Wallace Hartley and the Titanics. And they had released an album. They recorded it here in Bismarck at Makoche. But it was like partially financed or somehow facilitated by Tom Bones Malone.
Okay.
From the David Letterman band. And apparently the story is that he was a guest artist. So this band, Wallace Hartley, they were basically the NDSU jazz band. Right? But this was like their real gig. I almost called it their side gig, but like,
right.
Like, they were cool because they were a real band. Like, every other band that I was in or had association with was a school project. Like, it was an assignment. And these guys were like an actual band. Like, they were playing in bars, showing up late for class, not doing their theory homework or whatever. Anyway, Bones Malone was a guest artist. And so he did the thing with the NDSU jazz band. And then they were like, yeah, man, we're playing at Kirby's, tonight. On a Thursday, you should come down and sit in. So he shows up, and it's just this raucous Thursday night at Kirby's in Fargo. They were a horn band. They were like a Blues Brothers almost kind of a thing, like high energy horn blues. And Bones Malone comes and sits and has a blast. They play all, and then he's like, he leaves. He flies back the next weekend, legend has it, to come and play again with them. Like, they booked, he's like, you guys got a gig? We should play or whatever. And apparently out of this came whatever resources were necessary for them to record this record. So they were like a real band. Yeah. Right? And so, short story long, prior to moving to Minneapolis to get this internship, my connection with this band happened through one of my roommates who was just kind of like a hanger-outer because everybody wanted to be in this circle of musicians. Like they were the best musicians that we knew. So I had kind of connected like third level to them and just kind of was hanging out. So at one point in time, the lead guy in this band was like, yeah, you should come out. We're playing in Fargo at First Avenue in Fargo. You should come out and play. Right. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I have to work. Like I had this super lame job at Best Buy. Right. So I'm working. It's Saturday night. I'm driving home in the 1990 Honda Accord that I got from my dad. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go over to First Avenue and see what it's like.
Yeah.
So I show up and I'm like in my khakis and my blue Best Buy
course.
polo, right? Like I'm the coolest guy and I show up and the place is just like for college on a Saturday night, downtown Fargo, like it was a blast.
Yeah.
Like the band was cooking or whatever. And so I mean, I didn't drink at the time. Like I just was like this straight-laced dude who just got off his job, and I walked up to the front of, you know, and I'm just standing there watching him, you know, and I'm like, man, these guys are cool. Like, this is so cool. And Joel, the lead singer, sees me, and he's like, hey, man, you came. He's like, where's your amp?
Oh, shit.
And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you were going to come and play. Where's your amp? And so, like, luckily I had this little practice amp in my trunk and my guitar in the trunk of my car. And so I was like, huh. So I just went out to my car and got my stuff and came up on stage, and like they're in the middle of a song. Everybody's dancing. I'm like plugging my stuff in, you know, and I get everything done. Chink, chink, chink. Okay, I've got signal. I turn around and look at him, and he's like, it's you, man. Go, 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 go. It's you. And like, that was like my first experience ever. Like nothing was rehearsed. Nothing was like, I was like, how is this even going to work? Like, are we going to talk about what songs we all know? Like I was this total college kid, like no clue. And like, man, what a night. Like it was so much fun. Just like that was the moment where like the time that my guitar teacher said, you need to like check yourself, and you're like learning all of these things. And it was like, it kind of all came down to that moment. And then it was like, oh, I know this stuff. Like I could play a blues, or I could play a bossa nova, or like, what's the next song? Oh, it's something funky. Great. Okay. I could play that. And like, it was just the most amazing experience. And so they were moving to Minneapolis. Their keyboard player quit in the transition. Happened that they moved to Minneapolis the same year that I got my internship. So Joel calls me up probably 3 or 4 months after this experience that I had had. And he's like, hey man, you know, Ryan can't come. Ryan was the organ player. He had this beautiful Hammond. It wasn't a B3, it was a C3, so it was a little bit bigger, and a 147, and it just was like part of the band. I mean, real Hammond organ makes any band sound cool. And he was like, I got a Fender Vibratone Leslie cabinet, and I think that we just need a rhythm player. We just need to fill some of that sonic space. Like, will you come be our keyboard player until we find a keyboard player? So I came, but I was like the keyboard player on guitar. Like I had this Leslie cabinet, and so I was just supposed to fill the keyboard space. So I got this gig during my internship, just comping blues, and that was it. And spent 10 years in Minneapolis.
Damn.
Met a girl who was from Bismarck, whole bunch of stories, and then we decided that she wanted to move home. We decided that we should move home. We got married, lived in Minneapolis for a year, and she wanted to come back here, and I did not want to come back here. At the time. Yeah. Like I had no idea, you know. My experience with Bismarck was like Borrowed Bucks Roadhouse and what was the place in Mandan? Rodney was the name of the guy. We had played a couple gigs there. The Buckhorn. Was it the Buckhorn in Mandan? I don't even know.
I think so. It sounds familiar.
And had some really weird, like, you know, shifty gig experiences in Bismarck, and it wasn't really, I mean, we would do it on our way here or there.
Yeah.
Over the decade that I spent, you know, playing with them and other bands in Minneapolis. And then, yeah, so I didn't really want to move here. And it probably took me 2 or 3 years that I kind of had a chip on my shoulder about Bismarck, honestly.
Yeah, I bet.
Till I met some really cool people. And I remember just being out on a mountain bike ride one day, like out on the bluffs over the river, Pioneer Park, and sort of, getting to the top and breathing through my eyeballs and like, just looking out over the river and just being like, you know what? This place is cool.
Right.
Like this place has a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just and I remember like that was kind of the day that I was like, yeah, no, I like it here. This is a good place. Mm-hmm. So I must have been 29 at the time.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tornado alarms are going off now. Figured I acknowledge that in case that's coming through the microphone.
I hope that will be the edit sound for this episode.
Yeah, right.
The tornado siren. I was working just retail job at Eckroth Music, shucking guitars and band instruments and whatever, and Jimmy McMahon had I think he had a part-time gig. He was, finishing up at Mary at the time, probably about, I want to say maybe like 04, 05-ish.
Yeah.
And we just started talking, and I like just wanted to play. Like I wanted to meet somebody else who had played. Like the experience that I had had for 10 years in Minneapolis was like that there was a scene and that people interchangeably played, like it was a jobber kind of a scene, at least the scene that I was in.
You're right.
And so it wasn't about bands, like in high school,
Yeah.
Are you in the band?
Yeah.
And even like with Wallace and some of the transitional stuff, it was like, I need to be in that band.
Yeah.
and in Minneapolis, it was just like eventually you were in the scene. Like you come in with a band, but you meet people and they're like, hey, we need somebody to fill in. Hey, what are you doing on Monday? Hey, I got a Tuesday night regular gig. Can you do it for 6 weeks?
Right,
It was just a thing like that.
Yeah.
And so I was really missing that when I came to Bismarck, just sort of the range of opportunities to just try things and do
jam.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so I remember meeting Jim and then his wife, then Sarah, and that was before his brother Tommy moved back, but playing the Seven Seas, like I think it was like a Thursday night jazz gig at Seven Seas, and we would go out there and play horrible renditions of real book tunes, but it was like a gig.
Yeah.
Like so that was like, those were like some of my first gigs, like going out to the Seven Seas and just faking my way through chart stuff that I hadn't played since I was in college, and Jim and Sarah are in college and like killing it. Right. Like all studied up, and I had like 10 years of not even thinking about any of that stuff and trying to keep up with them. Kind of became a fun little musical challenge, and it was just cool. So yeah, that was probably the beginnings of Fat Dad. Probably a couple iterations before that, but yeah, that was my introduction.
Nice.
It's interesting. Like I never really thought of those things that I was describing as defining moments, but it's like in hindsight to think back and go, oh yeah, you were standing there like a dork with your pleated khakis and your Best Buy polo shirt on, thinking you were Dwayne Allman because you were sitting in with this blues band, like how much fun that was, you know, like I think other defining things for me were like, there was a band in Minneapolis called Dr. Mambo's Combo. Are you hip to this at all? Like, So, legend has it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they were basically Prince's studio band, and he had them on retainer. So they couldn't like go out for very long or whatever. They like had to be on call.
Oh, wow.
When he needed
of course,
a band for live or studio or whatever. But at this bar called Bunkers in the Warehouse District in Minneapolis, they played every Monday night under the name Dr. Mambo's Combo. So it was like Michael Bland, like he's been doing a bunch of stuff with Corey Wong lately, like amazing drummer.
I just saw Corey Wong in Yacht Club Fest. It was cool.
I bet that was a blast, dude.
It was.
Where was that?
St. Paul.
Oh man, I bet that was awesome.
It was.
I wouldn't
3
even be
days
surprised
of
if
music.
Michael B was playing with
Right.
him potentially.
Right.
He's like this big, like 300-pound black dude. Like I've never seen, like I had never experienced anything like groove, like
Yeah.
just Midwestern white kid awakening, walking into bunkers for the first time on a Monday night, and like just the sonic wall of like pure groove funk, 70s funk machine that this band was. Like it was so cool. And they had kind of rotating people, like Jellybean Johnson would come, but I remember Billy Franzi was the regular guitar player. This dude was insane. He was probably in his 70s at the time, and he would like sit on his amp because the stories were that he was in the back of a gear trailer when it flipped over or something, and so he had like sustained some pretty serious like structural damage to his
Okay.
body, but he would sit on his amp and he would, play this funk guitar, and then he would go on these crazy solo excursions, and you could tell when he was getting crazy because he would like literally stand up like almost like a Baptist revival. Like he'd be playing the solo and he'd start sitting down, and pretty soon he'd be up, and then they'd like, you couldn't tell if it was, James Brown theater, if it was half real, and they would be helping him back to his amp to sit down after the solo,
Oh, sure.
And Steve Cherawan, like the first time I actually saw a real B3 player play a B3 organ with a Leslie, and the way that he turned the Leslie on and off and like use the Doppler effect to like create bends and like chorus effects, and like so much fun to just stand there, and like you could literally stand as far away as I am from you right now, like 3 feet away, looking up at them and watching every single move that they made.
Yeah.
So we used to I used to joke, and we used to call it free clinic, but we would get in the car from Moorhead at Moorhead State University on Monday afternoon, skip our last class, drive to Minneapolis to watch Dr. Mambo's Combo, get back in the car, drive back
That night.
skip our Tuesday morning class.
Yeah.
And like every week, like clockwork, like as soon as we saw it was just like, oh my God.
That's
like,
so cool.
You would not believe.
Yeah.
And I just remember like those were seminal moments. Like those for sure were just like the way that he played drums. And there's an interesting side story. So their sound guy, who I think was a big part of that experience for me, because I had never heard like really well mixed live drums. I mean, like
Oh, yeah.
you and I, like our experience was
Right,
probably
yeah.
what you don't mic drums. Like you try to get everything as loud as the drums. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
did you ever like? What was your experience with drum miking in a live setting?
It wasn't for not for the first 10 years, probably. Yeah.
So I remember hearing this, and their sound guy actually ended up running sound for Wallace Hartley a couple times after we had kind of at least semi-established ourselves in St. Paul and Minneapolis and had some regular gigs. So he would work for us when he didn't have any better gigs. I mean, he was an amazing sound guy. So anytime he was available, we would grab him. But there was one Monday night, this was after we were living in Minneapolis, playing with Wallace, knew Scotty. We would go on Mondays and hang out, and at this point in time, we would just hit the little sound booth, and we would just hang in the sound booth with Scotty to watch the show. I mean, it wasn't fancy, like, dive, warehouse district bar, whatever, but
Nice.
we would sit there with him. And one night, this very large, very well-dressed gentleman came over and told us that the artist would like to have the table that we were sitting at. And so could we please go over to the bar so that he could come and sit there? And so we looked back to the green room, which was, 15, 20 feet back in the back of the bar. And there's Prince standing there, little all 4'8" of him or whatever. Like he was
Yep.
teeny tiny. Like I remember that, like being struck by like, oh man, how petite he was.
Right.
Anyway, and so we were like, yeah, okay. So we go sit at the bar. He was like, the tab is open, help yourself. And then Prince came out and played a set with Dr. Mambo's Combo
Whoa.
in this little bar. And we were sitting there drinking on his tab.
Yeah.
And after the set, he left and they had one more set and he skedaddled. And then a guy came back over to us and he said, hey, your table is free again. The tab's going to stay open until the end of the night. Have a good night.
Holy shit.
And so like that was like my one of my brushes with fame and like
Yes.
but Minneapolis and Prince and like yeah, it was oh my God, it was amazing.
That
Like,
is.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was I know 89% of it was improvised. I mean, like they were a group of musicians that had obviously played together before, but he was just out to have fun. And like the band would start playing a tune from their regular set, and then like Prince would take a guitar solo in it, or he would play bass on something, and like there weren't any Prince songs in the set.
Yeah, just
he was
jamming.
just
Fuck
sitting
yeah.
in. He just wanted to play.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was so cool.
that is.
So cool. I feel like I'm a very like ancillary member of this scene. Like there are far more hardcore members of Bismarck that make the Bismarck music scene what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel lucky to just be sort of connected in this
Yeah.
outer ring layer to these cool people that do these cool things. So for me it was Fat Dad, which was just really a chance to play. And that was a much more band sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And while that was happening, it was cool to get to play some shows with like Dave Martell and, Nolan and all the Gypsy Foot crew.
Yeah.
I remember I was thinking about this today. I had a Roost. It might have been a cassette. I don't think it was a CD.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And I actually don't know how I gained possession of it. It was probably through some of Jimmy's buddies from Mary. So that would have been like Weston, Mike Reitz. Probably one of those guys like hooked me up with this cassette. And I thought that was super cool. Like I loved, like I had been playing in a world music band in Minneapolis right before I moved to Bismarck. And so like the idea that there were these Midwestern kids that wanted to play reggae or like that was so cool to me.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I thought that was so cool. And so then meeting Dave at Gypsy Foot shows, and I've always had a ton of respect for Dave and of course Nolan, I mean, all those guys. But so we were playing together and Fat Dad was a thing. And, I think there was a point in time where Fat Dad kind of was not really doing much. And I've been working like big boy jobs, like, day jobs this whole time,
Of
right?
course.
Like this is the fun that I get to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Gypsy Foot had kind of tailed off too.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what the circumstances around that were. Probably people move in and all kind, whatever. But I remember talking to Nolan and we were talking about how my experience in Minneapolis was much more that it was a gigger scene, and that there were so many cool musicians just in the small circle of Bismarck that I knew that were kind of like not quote unquote in a band, and like kind of how frustrating that was. Like you have to like name something and label it, and then before it can be this thing, like, and I like I appreciate like, hey, we're gonna make this thing happen, and like the vision of that, like Dave Martell is a guy who's like in 4 or 5 bands, but I don't really think of them as bands. Like I feel like they're Dave's creative visions that he came up with some buddies or on his own and decided to make happen.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Versus we're going to be the band. And
Right.
you're either in the band or you're not in the band.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember talking about that with Nolan and just thinking like, oh, dude, it would be so cool to like just be able to have like a call list. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, why don't we just take the plunge? Like, why don't we just book like something regular? I think like regular gigs weren't really a thing either. So
Yeah, not really. No.
you had things were booked and they were on a schedule, and if you couldn't get on the schedule or whatever, and it was just kind of like, okay, play a gig. And I had been playing in a I don't know what you would call it, like a road band called Rift with Sean Oban and Brad Stockert and Adam Roberts. And it was just like a 4-piece, and it was a bar band,
Right.
But that it was gigs, you'd play gigs, you would drive to Beulah, you would drive to Dickinson, you would drive to Minot, you would drive to whatever. And I was just like, man, wouldn't it be when I was in Minneapolis, it was like your Sunday gig was your Sunday gig and your Monday gig was your Monday gig. And you'd have a Thursday, Friday, Saturday gig, you know, like they might be with different bands, but same people in different ones. And so I was just like, dude, let's see if we can convince somebody to book a regular gig.
Yeah.
And like, well, what band would it be? And I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, if we have enough people, like whoever shows up that night, like if I'm the only one that shows up, then I will.
Then you're playing solo.
Bore people with 3 hours of whatever I can pull. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was a little more organized than that in reality, like because once there was a gig booked, and I actually think it was probably Nolan that actually booked what I think of as like the anonymous gig at the original Laughing Sun downtown. Mm-hmm. Like, because I never booked gigs. I never had the wherewithal to do that. And like, I was just...
You just show up.
Looking for a chance to play guitar. You know what I mean? Like with other people. Like, because I had just become addicted to that in Minneapolis. Like, so yeah. So I think he's probably the one that created the opportunity to do that and like took the plunge with me to do that. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of became like this, oh, well, you guys, no matter what, we can go. Like, we used to get together in Nolan's basement and rehearse. And we were like, well, now we can just go rehearse on Wednesdays at the Laughing Sun and get paid for it. Like, yes. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that was pretty fun. And then all the hijinks that ensued from that regular thing that probably happened for, I want to say it happened for like a year and a half. There was probably like 18 solid months of every Wednesday was anonymous at the Laughing Sun, you know, give or take. Christmas is off or whatever.
For sure.
I remember feeling so beholden to keeping that going that there was one night that I was making dinner. I had come home from work and I was making dinner and my wife was using this banjo to like slice potatoes and she sliced her finger open. And I was like, oh, so, you know, got her finger all fixed up. And do you think you're going to need stitches? It's a really bad cut. And she was like, no, and I was like, well, I have to go. Like, we have to make dinner. Like, of course, I was all self-centered. Like, I have a schedule here. I'm sorry that you're bleeding, but right. So I grabbed the thing and I immediately proceed to slice my thumb open, my right thumb open on this thing. Same thing, like, you know, probably 3 or 4 stitches worth of whatever. It never went in. But I remember I'm feeling so bad calling. I think it was probably Brandon Clayson that I called because he was the most empathetic I felt of the crew at the time and saying, dude, I don't think I'm going to make it tonight. Like I can't play guitar. You know, like, I don't know how I'm going to help out at all.
You're feeling terrible.
Or what, and he was just like, dude, what? Okay, fine. Like, isn't that the point?
Right.
And I was just like, oh, like, but you guys are still going to play, right? Like, it's still going to happen, you know? Like, yeah. So that to me was like, I liked the attitude of that. And even though we were probably much more conscientious about, you know, learning things and knowing who was going to be there. And that was probably more for, I think, our own comfort. Like the idea of being able to do this off the cuff, but we would practice things and we would learn new songs and we would get together. And it was an excuse. It was a reason to have to go do that. Like on a Monday night, do you want to go over to Nolan's house and go down in his basement and rehearse a new song? And then, you know, be tired at work on Tuesday and then play a gig on Wednesday night. Well, you have a gig on Wednesday night, so you better go play music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was awesome, like selfishly for me to have the opportunity to engage with these people who were like really like the lifeblood of like creativity and art in the Bismarck scene.
Yeah, completely.
You know? And for me, it was just kind of like, wow, this is awesome. Like I can go play guitar and, you know, see him, and then like the rest of the time I you know, am like living this dual life and like, you know, moonlighting as a member of this band, you know. Yeah, it's fun. Totally. Super fun.
I miss that excitement too, you know. I guess I haven't had it in a while.
Yeah.
Do you have any of those moments in the Bisman area where you were playing a show and you're like, oh my God, this is super exciting?
Yeah. I think there's probably a couple, like they're very generalized, but for sure they were Wednesdays at the original Sun downtown. And I think there are like moments when, I mean, for one, like there was just kind of like those small moments of clarity when you would show up, you would be exhausted. Like you would get home from work at 5:30 and then you had to go set up at 7 and we were going to hit at 8 or 8:30 or whatever time it was supposed to be. And you'd just be like, I do not want to go do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like,
I
you're
do.
so tired. I would like go home and I would like take a power nap for 20 minutes and then like get in the shower and then like, you know, eat a granola bar for dinner and order a coffee at the pizza place next door to get through the gig.
Yeah.
And
Always eating garbage food just to get through.
Totally. Totally. Just like, yeah, there is no future beyond. I need to make it from here to my bed at the end of this gig.
Yeah.
And then literally, and you know, you walk in, there's like 15 people there. You're going to be like, oh, it's Wednesday night. It's snowing outside. Your feet are wet from walking through the puddle in the alley and pushing your amp down the thing. And side story, like I loved that band because you had to hit your gaps on setup and nobody ever talked about it, right? Like it was 9-10 people on that teeny tiny little stage, right? And everyone would always be like, how do you guys get up there? How do you fit, you know, whatever? And it would be like, I would show up at a certain time and the drums would already be set up. And then Roger and I would usually get there at the same time. And I would set up first so that Roger knew where his space was. And I would always try to move as far over to the, you know, stage right as I possibly could. But you would just hit your gaps and everybody would set up one person at a time. And somehow everybody would like eke out their little territory and like the membership would change. And so there were always this little like negotiations of like physical space, like on stage, like how far do you actually need for a bass guitar neck? Like what is the radius of space that a bass guitar player needs versus a tenor sax player, you know? But anyway, it was so fun because that band was so good. Like nobody was ever in anybody's way. Like everybody just hit their gaps on setup and you would get there and be like, drums are set up, keyboards are there, David's stuff's in the corner, Roger's stuff's in the corner, I better get my stuff set up, Roger's waiting on me. Like everybody would just do their thing. It was so much fun. Anyway, you would look up 40 minutes into the first set and like there would be 60 people in there, which in that room felt full. There would be more by the end of the night. And it was like this kind of like, oh my gosh, I love this. I absolutely love that it's Wednesday night. And I'm so glad that I came here. I'm so glad that I took a nap and dragged my ass down here to do this.
Yeah. Those moments are always great too when you're actually just playing and you're kind of in that moment. Minutes go by and then you look back up and the room is filled up and you're like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Or you take a set break and, you know, you realize at that point, like, oh, it's not just the people that I can see in my radius of vision right now down the bar. It's like this whole place is full. And I don't know, it was just like those kind of moments. And then there were like the moments of happens multiple times, people telling you things like, oh, you know, we're in town for a conference and I'm from Austin and Austin doesn't have anything like this. Like you guys are awesome or whatever, you know, and it's like, yeah, I've seen awesome music in Minneapolis. I got to go watch, you know, over and over and over, been and seen these places and people are awesome everywhere. Like it's not a contest, but it's also like this sort of validation of like, there's nothing special. Like I remember that's what I took, I think from the Dr. Mambo's Congo thing. Like you play the same notes that those guys play.
Right.
You tune your guitar the same way. You have this, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing special about any of that stuff other than how special it is. And this right here is special. Yeah. And I just remember like those were really validating moments of just people saying, oh, you guys are awesome. And just kind of being like, yeah, it's fun, isn't it? You know, like, yeah, it was so cool. So cool. So I think those are like probably my Bismarck moments, really. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've always loved too about promoting a show. at the end of the night when everybody's kind of sweaty and leaving, and then you got that one guy who's all gross and he gives you a hug. And you're like, now I'm going to have his BO on me. But he's like, thanks, man. That was a blast.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck yeah, it was.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why we did it. It's kind of lame to say I'm not doing anything, right? Like I'm always addicted to chances to play music with other people. It's not something that I have a lot of like discretionary time these days to do, but my favorite things are been reconnecting with Jimmy and his Peace Garden thing. And he's been working hard writing stuff. I mean, I've probably got 8 or 9 like tunes in the bag that haven't been recorded that I'm just sitting on. Every once in a while I get to play them with Jim and Phil, and it's either Peace Garden or McMahon Brothers and Friends. Those are that's my like get out of my house with my guitar time. And other than that, it's, trying to feel like, it's funny. I pay physically. It's weird for playing.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
Yeah. Like I'm getting to the point where whether it's like poor technique or I'm just getting old, but like I'll pick up the guitar or we'll get together to run through some tunes for a gig that's coming up. Mm-hmm. And they're few and far between. They're, maybe every quarter, like every 3 months or so, there'll be something that I can go and actually play with them for timing purposes or whatever. And I love that. But yeah, go to a rehearsal for that on a Thursday night or a Friday night, and like the next day just be like hurting. Like hands physically hurting, shoulders hurting, like, like, man, you got to relax. Like you got to learn how to play guitar because like you're hurting yourself, but you still do it, So I also have to be a lot more purposeful about when I do it and why I'm doing it.
Totally. Yeah.
Which, it's got its pluses and minuses, right? Like you're trying to keep your bag full and you're trying to maintain some level of facility. It's so that you can do things that you want to do musically, but also you have to let some of it go and just be like, I'm not going to be Steve Vai. I'm not going to be, John Schofield. Like I'm still going to play guitar and do what I can do.
Yeah. My dumbass did not wear earplugs for years. Yeah. Playing in metal bands.
Yeah.
In a metal shop.
Yep.
Goddamn. And now every once in a while I just hear that bing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's another
another frequency I can't hear.
Yeah.
The reason I'm a loud talker, because constantly, constant. Like I've got horrible tinnitus. I
haven't gone in for a test.
I should probably.
I'm a little afraid to what's going to come out of it.
I've gotten to the point where I've know a couple people who've had cochlear implants. Oh, and like and I'm just kind of like, actually, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Like it might be nice to just like be able to hear what's going on, in an auditorium, like gyms, auditoriums, like big spaces.
Right.
Restaurants sometimes.
Yes, even restaurants are way too goddamn.
Even the sun, all the hard surfaces and the metal from the brewing stuff and just big space, sound swirling around. Can't hear a thing. Like, could be sitting this far away from you. Could
yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I'm getting there. Son of a bitch.
I know, right? Wouldn't change a thing. All the stuff I heard was awesome. I love it.
Well, thanks, man, for coming in and sharing part of your story.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk soon. So yeah, I try to keep it pretty laid back. I edit the heck out of it. So when we have pauses, breaks, or just need to burp, fart.
Right on.
If you got to fart, turn around, face it into the microphone.
Just make sure we get some good audio out of it. I know you'll use that as your edit sound. Like you always have a very specifically chosen edit sound to go with the theme of the episode.
That's right.
I don't want mine to be the fart one though.